that thing? Yeah, it's unbelievable, dude.
That's
So
the worst part of my game. You and I got to play together again because I can iron it. And
irons are terrible. My swing is so inconsistent, but I can just go ahead and wrap my driver, 300 yards, and then I'm staring at like 160-yard shot. And I mean, I can pummel my irons, but I just have no direction. They're just a yard sale. I mean, it's a beautiful draw one time, and then it's just like this power fade, which is also a slice, but but it's like, dude, it's contact, but I'm like, God, I have to chip every single time. I can't just stick it on the green. It pisses me off.
Yeah, and you make a good point. I mean, I think this is how you adjust in baseball too. But if you knew you had a fade every time, a 20-yard fade, then you just play 20 yards out to the left and you go. But one time you draw that one and now you're 40 yards to the left and you're chipping, or you power fade at 30 or 40 yards and you're like, and you're like, all right, if I only knew, right? If I only knew what the hell I was doing.
Ken Gilesing myself the entire time.
Ken Gilesing, I remember that. That guy left some lumps.
Out.
At least he would punch himself and not a wall. And, we talked off.
You just Phil Maton him right there. Way to go.
Very good. Well, hey, I'll throw Phil Maton under the bus. You and I talked this week. I got to see Mr. Blum this week out here in Southern California, which was awesome. But we talked this week about we don't have to name names, about guys that you like to play with, guys that are tough, and guys that are kind of like, oh, I'm not feeling 100%, so I'm going to get on the shelf. But at least Ken Giles was enough to punish himself, but he wouldn't take himself out of the game, and he was out there. Somebody like, Phil Maton, I'm gonna call him out. If you listen, Phil, I mean, you could call a guy like that too. Yeah, and I know those guys are competitive, and I know they, some guys see red and they can't see anything else, but really it's a pretty selfish maneuver, because if you throw a ball 90 miles an hour and you're going to, wail on a cinder block wall, you pretty much guaranteeing yourself, you guarantee that you're going to be out for a while. So
I've got a couple of really, really good stories regarding this. So I'll tease the first one. Welcome into the bleachers. It's David Tuttle,
Welcome in.
Mark Ramos, Geoff Blum. It is the bleachers. We are recording. We're getting after it. We'll get back to golf, but we're talking about snapping. Let's go ahead and stay on the snap session. So I will tease the most important story, which is Khalil Green in 2006 punched a wall after a strikeout, broke his hand. I got to play shortstop. I got a particular gift at the end of that season from the owner of the Padres that hold on a sec. My wife's calling me. She's stuck in Arkansas. Hold on. Keep recording.
Okay. Yeah,
hey, babe.
We're in. This is going to be important. We have a special guest on the podcast.
Get on the bird. Get at the bird. Okay, so we're recording our podcast. You're stuck in Arkansas, mechanical failures. They're going to bring in a new plane that's going to take off by 10.
Are you on?
Yeah.
Cuss. We're on, Corey.
Speaker.
Welcome to the podcast, Corey. Hi.
I'm stuck in Bentonville. Yay!
Yay! There's worse places to be stuck,
Chicago, but
right?
I hate it at the same time. Flying in and out of there.
Yeah.
I can't hear anybody.
I know. They're in my ear. They're saying hello, Corey. They think you're wonderful.
Guys.
They feel terrible for your inconveniences, but they're going to fly in a new plane from where?
I don't know.
Okay.
But she's in the middle of getting me a hotel, and she's like, "What do you want to do?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Can I call a friend?"
Yeah. Well, here we are. Your lifeline is on.
Yeah, lifeline.
Fellas, what's the consensus, Mark? Hotel or plane?
It's a new plane.
Plane.
And I'm just going to tell you right now, this agent that I've been here since 2 o'clock. Y'all.
You've gotten 2 planes from Tuttle and Marco, and I'm in the plane category too. But have the hotel for a backup.
Yep. Book the hotel and cancel after the other.
In case they cancel it.
Well, yes, that will be in the cards for sure. But she's on the phone right now.
Okay.
Well, I can always that just means I'm sitting here for 4 hours.
Okay.
At the airport, and she is probably sick of me.
Get the drink tickets. Hey, how many drinks in are you?
Tickets? How many drink tickets do I get? She's giving me $30. to go.
At the airport, that's like one drink. You get the shot on the side.
You're gonna drink, yeah, you'll get a drink with the little mini Corona bottle stuck in the top of your margarita.
Yeah.
Dude, what
hey,
is that? That
so
comes
here's
out
the
to like
thing.
$6 an hour.
Was she supposed to see you at 9 o'clock, and now she'll see you at 10:30, right? So come on, fly.
No, it takes off at 10:30. She was supposed to see me at 9 tonight, but she is now going to see me at midnight.
Oh, I see. Well, you'll wait up for her.
Babe, get on the plane.
All right.
You'll be happier.
You hear what I said about Tom Hanks?
He's there? Tom Hanks is there?
No, I feel like I'm not like Tom Hanks in that movie where I'm stuck at the airport.
No. Is it Tom Hanks or is it who is it? What movie is that? Oh, Marco, what's that movie? Marco's our movie. He's our culture guy. It's called Terminal.
Terminal. Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Ramos.
And I'm going to be eating ketchup packets soon.
Oh, that's a good diet. And you smell.
Oh,
I do smell, y'all. I smell so bad. Okay, I'm just gonna say I don't wear deodorant. Tuttle's gonna understand this. Tuttle's gonna understand this. He gets me.
Oh, this is a Tuttle thing?
Yeah.
He just thumbs up.
He thumbs up. Yeah. See, I don't wear deodorant because it's bad for you. You need to cleanse all the crap out of your body. But unfortunately, I just moved Mia out of her dorm in the rain, and we're sweating profusely. It's really humid up here right now. And I got here and I was like, I definitely need to wash my pits and change my shirt and maybe put some perfume on, but it didn't happen. So I smell like I did a CrossFit class and came straight to the airport.
So at least the person sitting next to you on the plane will keep their distance.
Because of how bad I smell.
Yeah, but that'll keep people who sit next to you at a distance.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, they'll be like, oh, man. They're like,
my rain jacket on because I'm trying to keep the smell inside.
Oh, no, don't
because when you unzip that, both the guys are like, no.
Straight for you. I'm coming straight for you.
Oh, dear God.
All right,
not
take
gonna
the
put your name in
hotel,
the room.
take a shower, see you tomorrow.
Yeah, hotel, shower. Yeah, we've changed our votes.
I'll let you know my vouchers for the...
Yes. There you go.
Yeah.
No
Sure
problem.
it is.
Okay, y'all have fun. I'm
All
gonna
right.
be here at the airport.
Yeah, I'll call you.
I'm gonna dance down the... It's a very small airport. There's not a lot of people here, so I feel like I kind of have it to myself.
Own it.
Own it.
Okay.
All right, babe.
All right.
I love you.
Love you.
I'll call you soon. Bye.
Nice. Dude,
Dear God.
true love right there. That's
Traveling
awesome, though.
these days sucks.
Oh, it sucks. I'm glad to see that we always joke about the general public. Like, we're not the only ones that go through it. This is everybody.
What do we
all the
talk
time.
about on the bleachers? We talk about snapping that turns into a conversation with my wife. And I was literally, before you got on this podcast, Tuttle, I was talking to Mark Ramos because he got hosed out of a vacation. That was the Dominican, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, why does traveling suck so bad? We pay exorbitant amounts of money, and travel sucks. You get delayed, you get pushed back, you got to stay at hotels, you're in crap airports. Okay.
Yep.
Where was
All right.
I at? Sorry. Thanks
So
for
we were
putting up with me,
snapping
guys.
Khalil Green, and you actually got a present from the owner of the San Diego
I actually
Padres,
might-
and you're looking for it.
Where'd it go? I don't know.
Oh, he's got a Rolex somewhere in there, or something.
Oh, Tuttle.
I'm
Tuttle.
just guessing. Oh.
Tuttle's on
But
it.
you're looking around
And then-
for it, so something you carry with
one
you
of the
all the time. This is
funniest-
like playing
one of
charades.
The funniest
Something that Blum would carry
snap
with him
guys
all the
was
time.
Mike Piazza. You guys have both frozen. I hope I haven't. But Mike Piazza was the best snapper I've ever been around. This dude had perfected punching a concrete wall barehanded in the dugout. And I've seen him take full-on hacks. He would come in and just wham against the concrete wall. And he would never break his hand. And I asked him, I'm like, bro, I go, what are you doing? I'm like, you are like Hall of Fame catcher guy, and you're over here punching a wall after striking out against Bronson Arroyo. And I go, aren't you scared you're going to break your hand or anything like that? How are you doing that? I'm like, I said, let me see your hand. He doesn't, just a normal hand, no like weird knuckles or anything out of place. He could flush his hand, his fist flat across and hit the wall squarely, beautifully to where it would disperse the energy and he could punch it as hard as he could. It was some like Japanese karate move that he was able to do that. So good for him. Khalil
That was
Green could not
Matheny?
do that. No, that was Mike Piazza.
Piazza. I'm sorry. I didn't know you played with
Mike
Piazza. So
San Diego.
how about this, though? I know, but I didn't even think about that. He's a Dodger in my heart. No, I'm kidding. I don't care. But I think he probably, sometimes you look at these actors, like the drama, like I wonder if he pulled the punch. That's what I'm saying. He knew to stand 2 feet
WWE.
away. And like he knew how to stand 3 feet away from a wall that's like 3 inches and 1 inch, or 3 feet 1 inch away, and just did the little.
That's not a bad idea.
Your teammates will know you care, and you don't break a bone.
Yeah, you're like, man, he's intense. So, 2006, I signed back with the San Diego Padres. I'm the utility guy. I'm playing some third base, second base, a little bit of shortstop, and Khalil Green punches out, and he goes in and punches the wall and breaks his hand. And the San Diego Padres are desperate for a shortstop, so they call in the Neanderthal known as Blummer. And I finished the season playing shortstop. We win the West. We were the National League West champs. We go to the playoffs. We get our ass kicked by the St. Louis Cardinals. And at the end of the year, the owner, John Moores at the time, hands me a gorgeous, I don't know where it is. I should know where it is because I was wearing it. It's on this trip somewhere. Maybe the maid got it. I don't know. But he hands me this Rolex, and he's like, just wanted to say, great job. Thanks for the hard work. You filled in. You got us the National League West. Proud. And he hands me in this, that gorgeous green Rolex case. And I'm like, damn. I've never bought myself a Rolex. This is the only Rolex I own. So I open it up, and it's this beautiful, like just silver. It's the aquamarine or the technomarine, whatever it is. It's the marine. It's a beautiful, just white face, silver band, clean. And I'm wearing this thing for like a good week and a half. And I go to set it down on my desk or whatever it is, or my nightstand, and it kind of like rolls onto its face. And I look at the bottom of the watch. And it's got my damn name and number on it. It is badass. Oh, dude, it was one of the best
inscription on it. That's the cool.
It did. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Thanks, man. I'm just wearing it, and all of a sudden it rolls over, and I'm like, holy crap! It's got my name and number on it, dude. Yeah, that's one of my more prized possessions that I've gotten. I mean, rings are cool, but the watch was pretty cool too.
Khalil Green should have sent you something too. Khalil Green should have sent you a Rolex for your other hand. Like, hey, thanks for filling in and not making me look like a loser. And
double barrel.
That's right, double barrel Rolex. And the other point there is you said fossil dinosaur, like Blum got called in. I believe 2006 is the year after 2005 when World Series hero, right? Like, come on.
Great. Marco's going to edit this out.
Yeah, he is. But I'm just saying, you're a hero. Yeah, he gone. But you go to San Diego as a World Series hero, so you definitely had a high point of your career there.
My street cred went up.
Yeah, your street cred was high. It wasn't like, hey, here's this like fill-in dude. They were like, we're putting World Series hero at shortstop, and he better win us the West. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Have we talked about snaps on here? Like I'll go back in the dugout and snap. I was never a guy that would snap in the dugout. I've done like the slam the helmet and have it kind of kick back and hit me in the chin, but I've never like done damage. I haven't done anything like that. Marco, when you play golf, are you striping every shot? And if you do, you're good. If you don't, what do? Do you snap the club, chuck the club? What do we got? I know. I'm not a club snapper either. What do you throw it? Do you chuck it down the fairway? Kick a tire on the cart.
I'm a weird snapper. I think we have talked about it on the podcast before, but it's not I mean, gosh, what are we 300 episodes in and not enough people have listened from episode 1, so I don't think it's a repeat of a story. But the The snapper thing is interesting. I've thrown a club before. I played with a guy who used to throw clubs. They would get stuck in the tree, and then you spend like 10 minutes. His 7 irons up in the tree.
Dude, I've got video of that. Julia's husband did
like,
that, and I had to video it because he's throwing the flag stick at it to get it out of the tree, dude.
Right. Well,
because
he doesn't want to throw another.
Man.
Yeah, and don't throw another club up there because you get too stuck. You only got a certain amount of clubs in your bag. You're like, he gone. Yeah, I'm a snapper in a weird way because I feel like, when you snap, you really snap. Like I just have always tried to keep my emotions in control, and part of that's. But I think I told you this before. I lost a game. I told you I got a CG, right, and I gave up a home run. This guy had 2 home runs and 2 strikeouts at the old Bull Durham Stadium. Actually, the Bull was in right center, and I went and sat in front of my locker, and I wasn't like kicking stuff. It was like I lost a complete game 2-1, and I had like 8 punch outs and no walks. It was like you can't really. That's like fake snapping. If you go in there and destroy the locker room, and it's like, all right. Why didn't you guys score me some runs? No, it doesn't do any good, right? You just do your job. But I took my hat in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and I took my hat and I went like it had a little tear at the back, and I just tore it right down the seam. Oh. So got a brand new hat about midway through the year with no salt tracks or anything on it. It was
dude, salt tracks were the key, man.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's when I love when guys actually you can tell as the year goes, you have a good luck hat. It's like now you're in the playoffs and they have to put those logos on now, like World Series logo. I know. And LCS. So you're like, I want my same hat. So they have to stitch it on the hat. They'll give you a new one.
You're right.
The guys have the old flat, like crooked hat. You're like, I do not want you changing my hat.
Stinky. Yeah, but you put
that
brand
logo
new logo on the side.
That's right. That's right. And the clubhouse guys, man, they earn their dough for that very reason because it's like, hey, Blummer cannot go play shortstop in the playoffs without the hat that carried him here, and we are not changing it.
Damn right.
Sorry.
Let's go.
Damn Skippy. So I wasn't.
Oh man, hey, that was good. I'm glad we got that out of the way. What's been the world of sports is kind of crazy right now. We got done in Anaheim. The Astros took 2 out of 3 from the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim at the base of the San Gabriel mountain range, which was good. Pitching outside of Hunter Brown, Christian Javier, and Framber Valdez is sketchy. What do you got?
No, I just wanted to say when we sat at lunch and just, to let everybody on a conversation, I was saying that, here they are. They won the first game in Seattle, and they're on a roll. They're up 5-1 in the 8th inning, and this is just how streaky baseball is. I'm like, then you hear that Luis Garcia needs Tommy John, and so-and-so is hurt, and like you're not sure if Brantley and Chaz are coming back. I'm like, the Astros are in trouble, and we finished lunch that day. The Astros proceed to go get whacked, so they lost it. Right, they lost again, and then the next night they come back and win, and then win again, and I'm like, oh, all right, they're back in it. They're not as in much trouble. Like, baseball is so funny because we talk about what the narrative is, but after we talked, I thought they really are in trouble, and then they win 2 in a row, and you're like, okay, they look like they know what they're doing. But to your point, Valdez threw a complete game or 8 innings of unbelievable pitching.
Did you have a chance to watch any of that game?
I did. I actually watched some of that, yeah.
Dude, was that not one of the more clean games you've seen in a very long time? I mean, you had the pitch clock and you had him pitching the way he did. I mean, that was the most beautiful 2-hour and 15-minute game I have ever seen in my life, dude. I think he had 12 punch-outs and ground balls galore. It was amazing. 99 pitches, 75 strikes.
Yeah, 12 punch-outs, no walks. I mean, it was unbelievable. That's an art.
That was
brilliant. People don't get enough. We all love the hitting thing, and you'll hear when a guy throws a perfect game or a no-hitter. Mm-hmm. But if you are a fan of the game, just watch that game, which, like you said, was masterful.
I completely
agree. I didn't get to watch the whole thing, but, 2 hours, that's Maddox. If Maddox did that, they'd be like, this is why he's a Hall of Famer. And Valdez throws that game, and they're like, nobody knows about it. He'll win, like, American League Pitcher of the Week or something like that, some innocuous award, like, and then you'll be like, all right, he won Pitcher of the Week. But if he keeps doing what he did last year and this year – he knows what he's doing. He's on that
quality start streak again. Yeah, he knows what he's doing. Oh, so I'm a hitter, and I appreciate the hell out of that game that he threw. And even the next day with Christian Javier pitched a great game too. I have found myself, and I don't know if it's because I broadcast or the cleanliness of the game and how easy it is to speak to it, because when those pitchers get in a rhythm, even for the opposing team, you start to get in that rhythm. You can almost anticipate the pitches. You can see them setting up pitches, which ones they're wasting and what they're going to. And, if they fall in love with the pitch because the shape is so good, that's kind of where Framber got. But I'm a hitter. I love it when guys hit bombs, tanks, nukes, whatever you want to call them. But I would rather, I'm trying to think, I would rather see a Framber Valdez game or a Javier game like we just saw those last two games, pitching-wise, as opposed to a guy that went out and I'm trying to think what the guy would have to do. He'd have to hit for the cycle, or he'd have to hit 2 or 3 home runs. I mean, it would have to be something exponential for me to enjoy it as much on the hitting side. Do you not? I mean, I know you agree. You're a pitcher. You love that stuff.
I completely agree. But I know what you're saying. It's almost like the hitter's not getting as much credit as well, meaning the hitter doesn't get credit if he has like 2 home runs and 7 RBIs. They're not giving him as much credit either, essentially. But that game, like you said, was masterful, and I do think I don't know. I mean, I do think it should be appreciated more, and maybe because it's 9 innings of solid work or whatever. But like you said, if a guy hits 2 home runs with 7 RBIs, he doesn't get the respect, or it doesn't float your boat the way that Valdez's performance
it's cool.
did, and that was
not
awesome.
Like, holy
really
crap,
cool.
He was in command. Yeah.
How about this? I have a question for you as a hitter. So you're on the other side of that, and they used to give Mark Burley, and Greg Maddux, whom you played with, both those guys. They used to give them all the credit in the world for like, hey, you know what you're getting, go out there. And as a hitter, if you went 2 for 4 that day, it was great. But it's like, hey, he's not throwing me anything in my wheelhouse. I'm gonna have to try and drive the ball over the second baseman's head or whatever. But as a hitter, didn't you? I mean, obviously the Randy Johnsons of the world, Nolan Ryan, where they're a little loose. You didn't like facing those guys anyway. But didn't you like knowing what you're going to get when you walk up to the plate? Like if you're on the same page as they are, like, okay, they'll probably get me out most of the time, but man, if I can think along with them, or if I can get ahead in the count, I'm not up there fearful. I'm up there like, hey, I'm going to just try and get my hits. And if you went 1 for 4 or 2 for 4, like the game was 2 hours, 15 minutes, you knew what you were getting. They threw you all kinds of stuff, and you got out of there. As a hitter, you almost want that too. You weren't like, oh, you know, here comes whatever. Here comes this guy. We don't know where the ball's going to be, and I don't know. Tell me.
But doesn't that kind of speaks to the competition of it too? You know, you enjoy when you're facing those guys that work fast. They're in the zone. Instead of those guys are just naturally effectively wild, so to speak, or you got to muscle up on every swing because they're coming at you with 100 miles an hour. Those were games. If you went 0 for 4, you were like, damn, what just happened? You kind of looked around. You weren't like devastated because you got blown up on a slider, or you got, off a changeup off the end of the bat that you felt like you should have crushed. It was always like, man, I was sitting on the pitch. I got it. I just couldn't get a hit because I hit it right at somebody. And then all of a sudden, 2 hours later, you're sitting in the dugout going, we lost? What? It's kind of wild like that. But I never faced anybody that – I faced Randy Johnson. He struck out 14, and we beat him one day. I mean, that's the bizarrety of what can happen. But that's where I think the 12 punch-out, no-walk thing was so impressive in 8 innings.
Yeah, no, it's great. And I do think that performance got the Astros kind of back on track, which is the whole point of this conversation,
a good point.
At lunch, we were like, that just the way they blew up at the end of that game. Now, another question maybe about clubhouse or demeanor, since a lot of Astros fans listen to podcasts, because Presley came in to get a save the day that Valdez threw his game, 8 innings. Presley comes in. The next day it's 5-2, and I know it's Shohei Ohtani, but, giving up a 2-run homer. I mean, look, I pitched late in games before, I realized, but I mean, is Presley on his game, and that was just one of those things where you tip your cap to Shohei, or was that a little nerve-wracking, or like where do you think they are?
It was nerve-wracking. I think they're in a good place because they do know that they have 3 pitchers in their rotation: Javier, Framber Valdez, Hunter Brown. Those guys are going to go out and compete, and I think if you go into a game and know you're going to compete, you're like, okay, let's go. And then it's those guys like JP France or Brandon Bielak that you're like, what guy are we going to get? Because we could get the really good, or we could get the really bad, depending on who goes out there. But you having pitched late in games, and Presley kind of mentioned this, the night before he goes out and absolutely just wrecks Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, and I think it was Anthony Rendon or Hunter Renfroe, whatever. He goes through like 3 legit dudes in that lineup in a pretty effective fashion. The last out was a line drive and a great play by Jeremy Pena. But the next day, if you're facing that same team on a back-to-back games, like he threw a couple of breaking balls that previous night, got the swing and miss from Shohei Ohtani. The next day, he throws that same curveball down out of the zone, and he hits it out for a home run.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, am I, dude, maybe I didn't, maybe he was better at thinking through the at bat than I thought he was, because I thought I'd be able to get him on that same pitch. That's what's got to be hard as a closer.
It is hard, and that's why the starters the same thing, where starters have that, hey, third time through the lineup, maybe because, like you said, night game followed by a day game facing the exact same guys. There's probably some bleed over, like Shohei's going, all right, well, I know what he's thinking, and obviously he got him that time. And Shohei's pretty impressive. I will say, this is a little side note, ESPN had, Shohei Ohtani hits a 2-run opposite field home run for his 8th home run of the year. And I watched the highlight twice. I'm like, that was not opposite field, was it? It was, didn't he hit it out to right? Like, I don't think the headline people knew. Didn't he hit it to right center?
All these Gen Xers, man, they don't know anything. Yeah. Gen Z, whatever
they don't know anything.
are.
But wasn't it to right center? I didn't even like.
Yeah, it was to right center. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, he went down and got the break of. Oh, it's not Oppo, but they kept saying, yeah. And by the way, this goes to the media. Yeah, idiots. The media side of it again is the two highlights on the 2 consecutive days that the Astros won were Shohei's home run, and I think that he pitched the day before, so he got whatever. He had 8 strikeouts, and they said this strikeout, and then the next day was his home run, and the Astros won both games, and that was the only local highlights where Ohtani does this and Ohtani does that. It's like, come on, people, get on the bandwagon.
Well, that's why you come to the bleachers and hang out with us, because we're not going to give you that biased, MLB Rob Manfred fed programming and narrative, dude. Come
BS. On, that's right. All right. So what else crazy going on?
Tuttle just
they're
snapped.
Back on. Hey. What's the other crazy? You said that's a crazy sports world right now.
What's going on with the NBA stuff? I mean, Anthony Davis for the Lakers gets carted off the court, and all I'm watching is ex NBAers laughing at him. Isn't that kind of that? I love Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal. I mean, they were great players, great commentators, but part of me was like, damn, if I laughed at a guy who was getting carted off the field, like we had, I think it was last year, Jake Odorizzi, like went to go field a ground ball and went down in just a pile of bones, and I was like, he's dead. Yeah. He's dead. Yeah. He got carted off. He had to go through the concourse of Fenway Park on a the cart for going to the end of the ambulance, and I'm going, oh my God, he's dead. And he was like in a walking boot the next day, and I was like, what the freak? Are you kidding me? But I mean, was the injury that bad? I haven't seen the injury. I just saw them laughing. I was like, damn, that's kind of harsh.
I think that's why they were laughing. So the game was at the point where this is what they kept saying all night, right? The Lakers have to win. Now the pressure's on the Lakers, right? Which is weird, because I actually thought the Warriors should have won game 4.
Because they want to finish the series, right?
Right. Well, but I thought the Warriors were the favorites all along to win in 7, and then the Warriors should have won game 4, which would have made it 2-2, and they gave that game away. So they were saying last night, as the Warriors got up 15, 16, 17 points, how late in the game do you play LeBron and AD, because they're older and they're getting worn down? And so I think when he got popped in the face, there was about 7 minutes left. They're down 14. It was kind of like, it's a good time for him to leave the game, because why keep him in, wear him out, and whatever. So he kind of went off, and I think it was more of that concussion type thing. I mean, he got hit pretty good in the face, but I don't know if that's why they were laughing. The more funny story coming out of the NBA, that sounds funny, the funnier story.
It's more funny.
The owner, the Denver Nuggets guy, the Joker, Jokic, and then the owner of the Phoenix Suns. Yeah. And we met this week in between that. And then the next day at warm-ups, they had a little tug-of-war joke, and then they high-fived, and they were done. And I kept thinking, but they still fined Jokic $25,000. And I think, why did they? Is it because he actually touched the fan, like air quotes fan? Like if he had done that to a fan, the fan would have got kicked out. I think. What? I don't get it. It's bizarre world.
It is bizarre world, but at the same time, Jokic had the interview afterwards, and he said, isn't the NBA's job to protect us? Because I feel like the NBA courts, they just keep shrinking and shrinking, and more fans get on those courts. And I mean, this day and age where it's all shock value, there's going to be some interaction. But I mean, Yeah, why 25 grand? Is it because of who he bumped? Well, like if it was you or I, they wouldn't probably get fined. We'd get kicked out and blackballed.
Right. So the word on the street is it is because who he bumped, which is that guy paid $4 billion for the Suns. That's where he's sitting, and but he did say the right things. The owner said, "Look, I shouldn't be, like this shouldn't be about me. It should be about the players or whatever." I still would be interesting to look at the letter from the commissioner to see what they fined him for, especially the next day when they're on SportsCenter, like making fun of it in warmups, like, "Hey, give me the ball. No, you give me like, that's really funny." So I would be like, "Hey, give me my 25 grand back if he's not that upset." So I don't know. It just seems like a little. It just. I don't know. It's a little, I don't know. They're taking us for fools, right? Like we're idiots. Like, I don't know.
Oh, dude. The way, well, you just said it a couple of minutes ago, controlling the narrative. I mean, it's all what they're willing to let out, and if they're going to, and we know this in Houston, 2017, they're going to control that narrative and say the Astros did it, nobody else did. And all of a sudden, oh, by the way, the Yankees did it and the Red Sox did it, but never mind. It was the Astros. Astros did it.
Right.
So you're exactly right. They handled it the way the NBA, wanted to handle it.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
Here's a topic. So,
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, could you imagine if they mic'd up everybody on a court? They wouldn't be able to hide any of that stuff.
No, they wouldn't. Well, I love when you're watching a broadcast and it goes dead, like muted, silence, because the mic's under the basket and a couple guys are getting into it. They're like, it just goes silent for 30 seconds. Yeah, they're just hollering at each other. I mean, yeah. I mean, they don't swear in baseball dugouts, so that's kind of cool. So they never swear. So just
Exactly.
the NBA and the NFL, like, come on. I mean, it is funny. Again, it actually makes for a funny topic to say controlling the narrative, because if people think it's like, oh yeah, look, he's signing autographs and he's this or that, and you're like, go down to a dugout for 2 innings and just, earmuffs
when
the whole
comes
time.
Back to the
Earmuffs,
dugout and he's like, son of a bitch, I had to sign autographs.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, exactly. I just struck out. Now I got to get on this like Fox News thing. Like, Kyle Schwarber, what did you think? You just struck out last at bat. How are you doing? He's like, well, we're in the hunt of it here in Game 5. You're like, oh, great. Like, how many F-bombs are you going to drop us?
Yeah. Damn hitting coach gave me the wrong advice.
Yeah. Hey, so we've said this before, and I think this is a good topic, but playoffs, man. Playoffs. Hockey, so much better in the playoffs. I was listening to Ryan Russillo's podcast today, and he had Tim Legler on. And Tim Legler's getting a lot of credit during SportsCenter now because SVP has him on. And he does the breakdown. It's incredible. He's like, watch here. They're running this offense, and they get a brush screen. Like, I know nothing about basketball. And they're isolating over here, and they do a brush screen, and you're like, whatever. And everyone's like, oh, that's really technical. But, man, he was saying that the ratings for the NBA, like, he can't do that during the season because guys are taking nights off, right? So they're not playing as hard. It's almost like
load management's a big topic, man.
So load management gets you there. And he's like, but for the 2 months of the playoffs, he said it's incredible. And he gets all this feedback for like wanting to be more technical. I kind of have 2 questions. One is, would you agree with that? Which I think it's cool, but also in baseball, I think they could do that because you've talked about launch angle, and you said that the people like the the numbers that you throw out there. But man, even more technical when we really talk about base stealing. You and I had some technical conversations this week, obviously off air, but it was really fun to talk about. I was talking to a guy last night who's a coach about just pick off moves and subtleties and slide steps and things that you just do to kind of that maybe the regular fan isn't paying attention to. But I think that's what makes it exciting. And what do you think about having like a more technical broadcast or sports getting into playoffs here? I think it's fascinating.
I think it's fascinating too. And deep down, I think if we do enjoy the sport, or like you said, we don't know enough about the sport, we're going to watch a little bit more intently, and you're going to listen to those guys. And fortunately, you've got somebody like Tim Legler who can actually explain it in very detailed. You don't want to dumb it down. You want to explain it the way it is. And I think that's where the fan will appreciate that more. I agree that there should be more technical stuff, because if you are a fan of the game and you want to know more, you're going to want to hear that jargon, because you show up the next day at the water cooler and you start throwing some of those terms out, Guess who's a badass?
Yeah.
That guy.
Yeah.
For listening to it, So it feels good, but that's part of the reason that I go down and I talk to some of I talk to the hitting coaches. I will talk to Joe Espada, on fielding. I will talk to Josh Miller. That's why I say shape and way the ball is coming out of the hand and stuff like that, because I don't know enough about pitching. So that's why I've got to talk to them and try and understand some of the terminology so I can eventually explain it better. And then when I'm watching the game, as an example, the other day I noticed that Alex Bregman, and I watch batting practice for the swings guys are taking, because you can tell what a guy is struggling with on how they take batting practice. And I started to watch Alex Bregman in batting practice. I'm going, his hands are in a different spot. So I watched it over and over and over again, and finally he gets done. He steps in the box for his first at bat, and sure enough, his hands changed. And I went through the process of trying to explain that and trying to break down that swing as quick as I could during a game. It's a little bit tougher now with the pitch clock, but that's kind of to your point. We don't have enough time in a game to do that, so it's kind of nice that they do that post game. And maybe that should be why can't you take a post game like Brian Bogusevic and Michael Bourne for us and give them a 2-3 minute segment where you look at a swing or you look at a base stealer? Why is his right foot open a little bit? Did he take the appropriate route to go catch that fly ball? I think that'd be fascinating. I think that's good stuff.
Yeah, and I do think there's going to be a space for it, because we're getting washed out with all the morning buzzword shows, right? I think I heard
opinions and topics. Yeah, man.
Yeah, opinions and topics, but they're saying, I mentioned this last time, they were talking about Dak Prescott again, right? Is he the quarterback for the Cowboys? It's like, we're in the middle of baseball season, the NBA playoffs, and they're talking about Dak Prescott or Aaron Rodgers, because that's what the fans supposedly demand. But if you start taking it to the next level, and that kind of goes back to my point about the playoffs. The NBA, I don't really watch during the season. It's not because of load management, but it's just not as exciting. But it's when you get into the playoffs. Hockey's the same. We've talked about that extensively here. Baseball, high leverage innings, all that stuff means more. So if you're a fan to understand it, I think that's why I know I like playoff baseball so much more, is because I can see the things that not everybody sees because we played it for so long. And now with Tim Legler, at least during the playoffs, you start to see these things that you wouldn't notice before, like, what kind of offense they're running or anything. So I thought it was fascinating. I thought it was insightful. And I do think as we look where sports media is going, you're in sports media, there could be a place for this kind of analytics. I think I mentioned to you DeRosa, and I don't know who the other guy is on MLB Network, but Mark DeRosa was getting
Robert Flores.
Yeah, Flores, and so he took some infielding. Robert Flores I think might be the host, but the two guys, DeRosa and another, the bald guy. He does. Gosh, who is he? I think he managed or
Cliff Floyd.
Whatever. No, it's not him. White guy. Anyway, doesn't matter. There's two guys, and they basically send Instagram photos. Yeah, Slaps McGee. That's it. Nailed it. Great. Slaps McGee and Mark DeRosa. I call him Al Others. Remember Al Others?
Oh yeah.
What's Al Others ERA? Yeah, he's got a good ERA.
What does Joe Random have? Yeah.
Yeah, Joe Random. So anyway, but they were sending actual clips of Instagram, and DeRosa was actually breaking down the swing, and it's the first time I've stopped clicking channels. I was like, oh, this is interesting. And these kids that are like perfect game candidates or high school players are sending in their little video, and he's like, oh, look, he's got, his hands probably don't have to be that high, and look, he's giving away his backside. He's got to stay taller on his backside. And they were giving, basically, if you got your thing on air, these are actually tangible things. You can be like, all right, next batting, DeRosa said I should stay taller on my backside or whatever. It's like,
it's good.
It was really cool. Yeah, right? So you really want to get better. But I think his key piece of advice, and you and I agree on this based on our last conversation, was you guys know, you have to know the game. So we can talk about hitting and backside and this and that, but when you start watching youth baseball and guys don't know second and third, one out, that you should tag up or that you can't run into your other runner, that was the thing that they both came away from. The emphasis was on, yes, you want to be big and strong and, lift and separate and do all these great things and have a cannon for an arm. But what really you need to do, and this is why I think I always tell kids still, catch the ball with two hands, get in front of the ball when you can. Don't side, when you take 1,000,000 ground balls and you gobble them up at a 99.9% rate, then you can backhand one or you can take a read, but don't start doing that when you're 11 years old. So anyway, we're off on a tangent, but you have some thoughts about that when you're teaching youth
that's
baseball.
Actually, yeah. But you talking about that, and in order to get to the big leagues, it's that whole Malcolm Gladwell thing. You know, the outliers, you do it for 10,000 hours, and you've got it down pretty good. Did you see that ground ball that Wander Franco, the shortstop for the Tampa Bay Rays, how he caught it, flipped it up to himself, and threw it to first base? Because that's kind of to your point, is that he made a great play on a hot shot, one hopper, had plenty of time because the runner barely got out of the box, and he flipped it up to himself and got the out. You just about puked on that one.
I don't like any of that stuff, but
I think it's a little too much to flip it.
Part of it is for him. It's one thing to pimp a home run, like to win a game or something. We've talked about it because I've actually softened my stance on that. Mm-hmm. But I just think it's ridiculous because then the first time you drop that or you make a fool out, I mean, there's just no reason to bring that into play, right? I mean, is this Jerry Maguire or whatever? Like, act like you've been there. Like you've been there.
Let me ask you this. If he drops it, who does it affect? That's the problem with some of this bat flipping and all this other stuff, is that it's selfish. So if he drops that ball and doesn't make that play, who does it affect?
Yeah. Well, we can actually bring this full circle. Yeah, no, I know. I'm saying we could bring it full circle.
All of a sudden, you got to throw 8 more pitches.
Yeah. Well, it's one thing if you make an error, busting your ass and paying attention. You make an error doing something like that, and you're going to see fists thrown in the dugout at some point. I mean, maybe not that time, if you get out of it. No, it's true, but well, they always say that, right? They're like, I wonder what happened. There was something brewing between these guys, right? When they go to Sports Center and these two guys are throwing. It's like that would start it. And so you don't need to know. Like, we saw that. It didn't happen that time. But later in the year, if we see two guys going at it in the Rays dugout, we're going to know that Wander Franco's probably, if he made a mistake. There's so much humility given to you by the game of baseball, right? We say this all the time. 7 out of 10 at bats, and you're raking, right? 300. Mm-hmm. If you're getting out 7 out of 10 at bats, your ERA when you're getting your contract, if your ERA is 3.8 versus 4.1, you're getting paid. Like, I mean, there's a big difference. So
believe it.
Don't be out there messing around, man. Don't mess with my paycheck, especially when it is fun. But don't add any sort of. You're showing people up. If you make a mistake, you're going to be, you don't need to create opportunities to be humbled in baseball. That's it.
Ooh, quote of the day right there, David Tuttle.
But wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
How many times have you been humbled or put in your place?
Oh, dear God.
It happens all the time.
Almost daily. Shoot, I just played a round of golf. I got humbled almost every other swing. I'm like, whack, I got this. Okay, I'm just going to go do the same thing I did before. Spunk. I'm like, dude, it just turns into a yard sale. Yeah, no, the game will expose some of that too. You know that as well as I do. I mean, you play this game long enough, some of those things expose you, and you just want to tone down when it's good. You want to enjoy it. You don't want to over-enjoy it. When it's bad, don't freak out. Keep working back and just kind of keep it as level as you can. No, not too many peaks, not too many valleys.
It's funny, full circle. That's how I live my life, and some days my wife appreciates that, and some days she doesn't. I don't get too high on the highs or too low on the lows, and I think she wants a little more emotion out of me. But hey, you get what you get, and you don't throw a fit.
Hey, man, we are just clicheing this bad boy out. Yeah, hey, Tuttle,
that's impress.
What that is impress. What do you got going? What does this week look like for you? You've got a big weekend coming up. Anything fancy?
Oh, I appreciate getting personal. No, but we are closing in on the end of the school year. So I think my son finishes. Yeah, he's going to finish his last AP test.
He's going to graduate
Monday and then graduate June 1st. So it's kind of a big month in general. And what do you got?
No, that's good. No, I've already done the graduation thing. I can't wait. We're going to have to talk about that reaction afterwards and see how you handle it.
I have a feeling it's going to be a long summer for my wife more than myself. We'll have to have her call in lost at the airport and see if I'll bring that subject up and see how it goes.
I'm in.
Yeah, she's already like getting him ready to go, and he doesn't leave till the end of September. And I'm like, it's May. Like, what are we doing? So it's going to be a long summer.
That's that nervous energy, man. Yeah, it's crazy. Well, that's good stuff.
What about you? What do you got? Yeah.
The oldest is she's actually at this moment driving down from Arkansas to go back to Houston for the summer, and the triplets just got through prom. They got through birthday. They got through surprise party. They're going to be taking their finals in the next week, and then they graduate May 24th, where all three of them are going to walk. And this weekend is Mother's Day weekend, so we will not be able to talk to you before that. So we thank a lot of military, first responders, and things like that, but our moms are great. We just talked about our wives. Our wives are great for raising our kids for us. It's fantastic. So we give a little shout-out to the moms out there. We appreciate you. We love you. We know how hard you work, even though you don't get the credit maybe that you deserve. But we love you. We appreciate you, and all the best to all those moms out there before we bail on this podcast. And hopefully we do have some moms listening to this. And if you are a son or a daughter listening to this, give mom some love. All right? That's the advice we're giving on the bleachers. Look at you. You got the card ready to go. A good mom lets you lick the mixer. A great mom turns it off first. I was waiting for that one. That was a good one.
We have a good sense of humor in the Tuttle household.
Oh, my tongue.
Yeah, my tongue. There you go. So I do have my Mother's Day card ready to rock and roll, so that's good. But I agree with you. We do thank a lot of people on this podcast, first responders, military, everybody that lets us enjoy our freedoms, but who lets us enjoy our freedom and, brought us into this world more than our moms. So yeah, we definitely appreciate our moms. And it's, I don't know if this is the Mother's Day episode. I mean, I guess it has to be. So they're going to love the snapping and the in-depth analysis for the basketball and base. Yeah, there you go. But thanks, Mom. We appreciate you. So that's all I got, I guess.
All right, then why don't you have your patented saying and let her rip?
Yes. Oh, let her rip. That's right. So, hey, again, thank you to everybody. Obviously, we throw the moms in there, teachers. They're coming in to enjoy their summer as well. If you're over the age of 45, don't forget to get screened for colorectal cancer.
Get after it and believe it.
Believe it. Mark, you look like a statue. Doesn't Mark look like a
froze.
statue?
I was like, is he still there?
He was like...
Speaking of that, did you see Tim Legler the other day on one of those morning shows? He was on there and he just sat like this.
Oh, I didn't see him on that. No,
it was hilarious. It was that Reddick guy and Stephen A. Smith. They were just going, and he was just like,
yeah.
And the clip was like 3 minutes. He didn't even flinch.